Hello, hello. How are we all? Hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. There's my voice. We are working. So welcome everyone to the stream. You join us today in the Ardennes Forest of Spa, Francorchamps. As you can see, we've got a fair few drivers, 19 drivers with us today. A GPRL record that will be starting the race. Currently it's Marijn on pole, followed by Marcos, Jarno and Luke, who's filling in for Yannick this race, a reserve, and doing a damn good job up in P4. We're watching Steve on his first and most likely last lap. See, there's a Ferrari, I believe that is Damien up ahead of him. So we watch Steve go through the middle sector now. Through P1, maximum commitment for the drivers through here. Steve was the winner last time out in Silverstone. We unfortunately missed the stream, but Steve hoping to pull it back for today's race. Renault letting him through. We'll see his middle sector split about now. He's not up on any time, but a 1:15.2. Not a bad time for the middle sector. Where will this put Steve? Got 3 drivers all yet to settle up. Alex and Hans in the Williams, the other 2. It's also a debut for Zeph, up in P6 in the Renault. He's a reserve. It's a very impressive debut for himself. We've got Peter also, I believe he is. As Luke goes P2. Steve across the line. P1, the fastest lap for Steve. He was pole last time out in Silverstone. Jarno out of the session now. Contact with Salim. There's a McLaren stopped there, so something's gone on. Luke has just put his car in P3. Steve out the session, so that's the best he's going to be doing. All drivers setting their lap on the soft tyre. So here's Marijn on a lap, also Marcos on a lap. Marcos just ahead of Marijn, so Marijn may be getting a bit of a tow up through down the Camel Straight. Yellow flags left, right and centre. That's where drivers are retiring, so we'll see Marcos' first sector split. He's 1.5 tenths up. Marijn, we wait for it. I don't think it's actually come up on our board, so we'll have to wait for that one. I'll have a look at who else is on lap. Felix not far behind his teammate. He's in terms of timing, he's about 4 tenths down. He's got a lot of time to make up. Here's Zeph debuting. Peter does his lap, goes P8. Here's Rico. Last time he won, he won, and it was in China for round 5. And since then, he's had a call up to McLaren as a full-time driver. Currently sits in P9. We watch him go through P1. Marijn out of the session, so he can't improve on that lap time. Not sure if he made a mistake, but nevertheless, second is the best he'll do today. So, who is the last? You can see there's a Haas, I believe, off there. I believe, yeah, that is Alex Z Buddha 2006. There's that is Rico slotting his way through what I believe was an Alfa Romeo, maybe someone else. Yeah, it'll be Felix who's backed out of his lap, so he can't do anything. Alex out the session. He will start plumb last. Here comes Rico through the final corner. Back on the power. DRS activated the run to the line. Stays P9. We wait for the rest of the challenges then. Marcos can't improve. Zeph doesn't improve. Do we have anyone else on a lap? Mitch, not on a fast lap. Mike has just gone P14. Mike just got a promotion to the Renault seat. There's Peter and Zeph going at it. Not sure if they have a bit of a problem with each other. But no one really managed to improve massively in the end, and it's Steve who grabs the pole on just the one run. Impressive showing also by Luke to get within a tenth of pole position in his first race in GPRL. And not only that, he's out-qualified Yana by just over half a tenth. So a really impressive showing. Let's go into the qualifying results. So Felix and Zeph both get a 5-place grid penalty. Felix will start P11, Zeph P12. Steve gets the pole, as we mentioned. Marine up in P2, championship contender. He needs a good race and needs to outscore Marcos and his teammate Felix. Luke, again, very impressive, up in P3. Marcos P4, not a bad showing, just a tenth off. Jano P5, all very close to top 5. Then we have Felix and Zeph, followed by Peter, who had a good showing. Renault's both having a good showing there, debut. Rico and Ferrin rounds out the top 10. Let's go into the race then. See what's what. Should be a very fun one. Record breaking 19 drivers. It's looking very overcast today. I believe there was contact between Alex and Felix. I've noticed that the top 10, 8 of them were Dutch, so Marine apparently making a mistake. And yet again, very, very close margins at the top. Anyway, I don't have any reports of rain from the drivers. Hello Racing Sam on the stream. And off we go. Not really a familiar sight in GPRL, having 19 drivers. Yeah, we usually see a 15-16 region. There's a lot of drivers here. We'll have a look at the starting tyres then for the drivers. As we mentioned, Steve on pole for the first time, for the second time in as many weeks. If he continues this form, round 7, 11 rounds to go after today. He could be mounting a championships challenge. The top 8 all start on the soft tyre. Toyin, who qualified P11, promoted to P9, following the penalties of Felix and Zeph. Toyin starts on the hard tyre, so he's trying to go long. Further back, it's softs all the way down to Damien, who's in P15 on the medium tyre. Softs for the other Ferrari of Peter. Wait, is that who's this? I'm getting confused. I believe this is actually this is Matt. Yes, it is. So a new driver to the league. So I'm getting very confused. A bit of contact there. Hans on the medium tyre, and Salim and Alex both take the soft tyre. So the soft, the majority choice for the drivers. And yeah, just apologising. P16 is actually Matt. He's another Dutch. I think it's Mattis or something. I'm just going to call him Matt for the easier. Just to be easy. Marine going ahead of Steve there, interestingly. But we'll have Steve lead us into our grid positions. And we know how important the toe can be. up through Rouge and Radion, and then down the Kemmel straight into Les Combes. So, you know, the drivers will be squabbling for it. A lot of drivers rounding up to the back of the grid. I'd watch out for Marcos and Jana, possibly trying to make up positions. Felix and Zef both getting grid penalties, so they should be fast. Here we go then. Steve on pole, Moraine in P2, the defending champion. Debutant Luke in P3, Marcos leader of the championship in P4. It's lights out and away we go for round 7 of GPRL Season 5. It looks as if everyone has got away relatively cleanly. Steve holds the lead into turn number 1. Moraine can't hang it around the outside. Further back looks like Luke keeping it clean. Going off track there is the Renaults. Luke now has made it past. Also Marcos making it past Moraine. Moraine having a shocking exit, dropping 2 positions. And Luke now in the slipstream. Can he get up and ahead and into the lead of the race? There's a yellow flag. I believe Toyn has crashed at Rouge. On board now with the Mercedes of Luke in his debut race, battling with the race leader. He's going to be forced to go all the way around the outside. Steve blocks that off very nicely, holding the position for the time being. Toyn out of the session in his first race as a full-time driver for Red Bull. Luke still pressurizing Steve as he's going to attempt to go round the outside. Can't make that one work, and he stays in P2. Nevertheless, a successful start for himself. Look at the position changes from the start. Alex from last on the grid up 7 places up to P12. P11 now that is. He's slicing through the field, but watching this battle at the front. Luke looks very fast as he's tucked in behind Steve. If he stays this close, you'd argue he'd be able to have a run down into turn. I don't know the turn number, but nevertheless the Buttersaw chicane, he should be close enough to have a good run if he can keep it clean through Stavolo 2. Just about on the limit of the track. He's just within 3/10 of Steve as we ride on board now, as we ride through Blochimont. How much ERS does he have to play with? How much does he want to play with? And dropping back, just as I mentioned it, is Alex. He's gone off, lost his front wing. That's his day. Ruined, if you will. Out of the session. Steve leads us across the line and into turn number 1. He's got to start pulling a gap if he wants to have any chance of keeping this position. Here's on board with Marcos. Made it past his championship rival. I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with the start. He had wheel problems hours before this race. He was in doubt for actually joining the race, but here comes Luke. Yet again, however, it does look as if Steve and that Racing Point have a lot of straight line speed, is able to hold his own. Luke's going to have to go around the outside, can't quite make that one work. And Steve stays ahead yet again for the time being. On that, we've got a lot of cars in the pits. Here's Damien for a new front wing. Alex pits. Rico pits onto a set of hard tyres. Zeph and Matt also all pit. There's a bit of a train now behind Felix. I believe Felix has just overtaken Ferrin. Here is Jana further ahead. There's a lot of moving around up front. There's like 3 trains in this race, all at different points. The top 4 I should say, separated by less than 1.3 seconds, which is incredible. Moraine very close to Marcos now. Moraine, the defending champion, the most decorated driver in GPRL history. What can he do? It's all a bit of a slipstreaming train here at the minute. Is Moraine close enough for a pop down the inside of the bus stop chicane? He's going to have a look. Marcos, though, outbrakes himself, goes straight on, focusing on Moraine, and hands the position on a plate to the Alfa Romeo driver. And he moves up into P3. Marcos down to P4. Nevertheless, he will have the DRS unless he makes any mistakes through turn 1. DRS enabled from race control. Here's Felix now, battling with Jarno. Jarno's struggling. He was very confident going into this race, saying that he'll win it. Which is an interesting statement. But Felix getting past Jarno. Jarno, though, this time with the DRS. With the DRS. Here comes Luke For the first time, he's able to use the drag reduction system in the slipstream of the Racing Point. He's going to move to the inside, and he's taking the lead. Izzy, they're side by side into Les Combes, and the Mercedes gets ahead. Luke on his debut in GPRL, he moves up into the lead, and it's been a very, very impressive race so far. Be interesting to see if he can hold this. Meanwhile, further back, Jarno did re-overtake Felix, as there's battles left, right and centre. And whilst these four are snaking around, this is closing Peter up. Peter in his debut. Again, we've got a lot of debutants today. Quite a popular race. And Spa, one of the most highly rated tracks on not only the F1 calendar, but GPRL calendar. A very historic track is Spa, many overtaking places and a lot of chances to slipstream. Talking about slipstream, we've got quite a train going on at the moment. On lap 3 is this 22 lap race. It's easy to wear off the tyres here. Steve, as we mentioned, looks a bit better in the straight line than the Mercedes, opting to not go for a move into the bus stop chicane. However, without any dramas through turn 1. Talking about dramas, there goes Moraine. A big moment there. Fast lap of the race for Marcos, as he is hunting down P3, trying to reclaim that position. Luke leads us across the DRS activation zone and up Eau Rouge and Radion. Can he hold that position? We know Steve has been very strong in a straight line these last few laps. His setup clearly more towards that one. Here goes Steve. He's going to go around the outside. Luke forcing him to take the long way around, and he does that indeed. An incredible move from Steve to take the outside line back up into the lead of the race. And these two are giving us quite the scrap in the early stages of this race. Talking about a scrap, Felix now back ahead of Jarno. Jarno looking as if he's struggling. Toyn saying he made a mistake on the first lap. Commissaries to him. Here is Lucas in the McLaren, currently 6 places ahead of his teammate. Doing a good job indeed is he so far, behind Mitch. Mitch who's had a good run of form these last few races, so is Lucas though. And these two battling for P8. Worth noting, the top 11 drivers all on the soft tyre. Welcome everyone on the stream, I hope you're having a good day. What do you think of the race so far? Meanwhile, Moraine is very close. He's going to be going side by side and round the outside of Luke, and Marcos might get involved on the party too. He's going to have to go round the outside into the bus stop. A much harder move, you'd say, but he holds it, and with a bit of wheel touch and there's contact, Luke holds the position as Marcos gets all over the place on the exit, and Luke is dropping. Have his tyres gone past their peak as Marcos struggles? Here's Felix and Peter going side by side. I think Peter sent one down the inside of turn number 1 there. Felix now with the better exit. In the slipstream, he's not going to go for a move. Side by side, up Eau Rouge, around the outside. Mark Webber-esque back in 2010. A great move from himself. Moves him up into P5. And Felix is having an incredible day so far. And further back, that has ruined Peter's run. And Jarno is going to say thank you very much, Arrivederci. And around the outside, he's going to try, and he gets that move done. So Peter loses 2 places in as many corners, as we've got a yellow flag further back. I believe that may have been Hans. He looked as if he was going slow. Ah, that's Salim off. He scored a point, his first point a couple of races ago. Not having great fortune so far this race though. Lucas has overtaken Mitch for P8. And a good job from himself. But there's Lucas going wide, just exploring the track limits. That could give Mitch a run. There's few places where you physically can't overtake on this track. Yeah, if the drivers are optimistic and close enough, I'm sure a few of them will be having a go. Here's Marcos now in the slipstream. It looks like Luke is struggling on the straights, and that is clearly hampering him. Here comes Marcos to the inside. The drivers wheel to wheel down Blanchimont. Marcos gets ahead, and a great move from Marcos up into P3. However, Luke's still doing a fantastic job in his GPRL debut to be 2 places up on his proven race winner of a teammate of Yana. Here comes Luke, still in the slipstream. He's very close to Marcos ahead, however, a saving grace for Marcos, potentially. But he has the DRS from Marine. That might carry him along and might even carry him to a move. You can see he's closing on Marine. He's going to go around the outside. The two championship contenders, wheel to wheel into turn number 1. What can Marcos do? He can't quite make that work as he gets all over the place on the exit after running over the curb. There's battling further back between, here is Lucas and Mitch. I believe Mitch just about taking that position. There's Peter, who went off the track. He's going to drop another 2 positions. And Marine stays ahead of Marcus and Luke following closely behind. And all this is doing with these guys battling, it's letting Steve pull away. There's a mistake from Marcos, a bit of oversteer. Early signs of the tyres going off. Luke sticking behind for the time being. He knows there's better opportunities that will come his way in the coming laps. A lot of understeer there. You can see for Luke nearly putting it in the wall. Not ideal. Felix has drove a tremendous race so far and is actually closing up to this fight, and very soon could be in the fight for P2, so I think he'll be chuffed with that, to say the least. There goes Steve into the pits, calling it quits. So he had about a 2.5 second gap when he stopped. Has he found enough of a gap to slot into? I'd imagine he'd come out in front of Zeph. Hard tyres for Steve as we now get going again. Here comes Marcos again on Moran, this time for the lead of the race. He's got the DRS. He's got the ERS. He's going to go round the outside Moran. Late enough on the brakes, though, ever so slightly deep, though. Will that give Marcos the advantage? Not able to do so. Moran, he gets the squirm, though, and that's going to hang Marcos the inside line. These two drivers, wheel to wheel, down into Brussels. Can Moran hold it around the outside? They're still going side by side. A lot of mutual respect between the drivers. Moran now down the inside, can't quite make it work. Marcos with an incredible move to go around the outside, and Moran might lose 2 positions because Luke was very close, not able to make it work. But what a battle between the two of the championship contenders, and really showing why they are the fastest and equally the most respectful, or up there with the most respectful drivers in GPRL. And what a sequence of corners. Just battling left, right and centre. Little update on Steve on his fresh hard tyres. He'll be going to the end of the race. Felix now very close to Luke, not having the space to go around the outside there. He's very close into Bloshimo. You can see the red lights flashing on the back of the car, indicating as Luke goes into the pits, so does Marcos, so it will become an Alfa Romeo 1-2. Back to my point. The red lights flashing on the back of the car indicate the drivers are charging their ERS. A new feature that has been implemented into the game for this show. There goes Luke, as you can see in the pits, onto the medium tyre, and so does Marcos. So this could potentially, although Steve will get a lap worth of an undercut, that could damage him in the race as it goes on, because the softer tyres could prove to be quite a different. Here's Peter, who's battling with Lucas. Lucas squeezing him to go round the outside. Peter, who made a mistake earlier in the race. Lucas been battling Mitch. They're side by side into Lake Com. Lucas round the outside, a very nice move from himself. And here is Marcos getting past Mike. I can imagine Luke will get involved on the act pretty soon. Luke really has driven an incredible race for his first time in GPRL. I'm sure he'll be eyeing up a full-time race seat, and with that transfer window coming at the end of the next race in GPRL, we won a driver's transfer window, if you will, where the better performing reserves get the chance to knock off the struggling full-time drivers to keep things fluid in GPRL. Here's Marine. He's been pushing quite hard from what I've seen. Been watching his times on his, what could be his in-lap. You see his ERS quite low, so it would be the logical thing to do to box, strap on a new set of tyres. And yep, there goes Marine into the pits. I'd imagine he'll be in for the medium tyre to match what Marcos does. And Steve, who will get a 2-lap undercut, but again on harder tyres. So, we'll have to say Jarno also pits for the medium tyre. And just confirming there, medium tyres for Marine. So 1 lap fresher than Luke. Talking about Luke, I believe Luke has got out quite comfortably ahead. Indeed, so no he hasn't actually. So Marine does get out ahead of Luke. Apology there. There's a lot of moving about in the pit lane. It's very popular. There's Ferrin in the pits. Lucas on the medium tyre as he comes out. The yellow flag in sector 1. Salim is out of the session. Disappointing race for him. But nevertheless, I'm really interested in this gap between Marcos and Steve. Has Steve made a mistake by going onto those hard tyres? Or will those hard tyres wear away in 13 laps time? There's a lot of variables where to go. Henk, Peter, that's Matt, retiring from the session. There's been contact there up Eau Rouge. We'll see on board with Damien. I'll be surprised if that's not a VSC or a safety car. It looked like a pretty hefty crash, and there goes Damien off into the wall. Both Ferraris retiring within 30 seconds of each other, and that has to be a safety car. Safety car deployed, and that is going to massively benefit Felix, who hadn't stopped, has stayed out, and is very likely to keep the lead here from stopping onto the medium tyres. This will be quite incredible. Damien out of the session. Steve has to stop now. It will ruin his race if he doesn't, by staying on those harder tyres. Mitch will also stop. So there goes Felix onto the medium tyre. Steve will go through, but I believe Felix should come out either just ahead or just behind Marcos. He's got out ahead of Marcos. So that is some incredible strategy work, but also luck from Felix to the safety car to be called at that point. Mitch comes up P7, so he's benefited from that as well. Hans speeding under the safety car, he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. Rico, Zeph and Hans may as well all pit here. There's nothing they'll gain from staying out, and it's a free pit stop. But back to the front. Felix can win this race. Felix definitely can win this race. 3-lap fresher, softer tyres. I'm sure we'll be hearing from Damien in just a moment. But the matter, nothing yet, but we were on board with them. We could see what went on. Yannick joking that he's the most decorated driver. And a little GPRL trivia for you. Yannick's first win came here at this very venue at Spa, back in GPRL Season 1 when Casper was actually fightable. A massive shout out must go to Casper24F1, ex-GPRL driver, of which I did beat in I think 3 races when he switched to the wheel, but we'll ignore that. And Casper just won in convincing fashion just last week the official F1 Esports race, so he's now qualified for, I believe, the next round, where if he wins that he might go into the pro draft, or he's pretty bloody close to being professional, which is great, and I beat him 3 times in a row, so that's a great incentive. But on a more real note, Casper, incredible job. You know, what can I say? You dominated the race by over 10 seconds won, and I'm sure he's pretty satisfied. And a bit of a GPRL commentator trivia. When I go to Belgium, I sit there on the left, passing it now, and I actually have run at the end of the race this year. I came onto the track, ran from the bus stop all the way down to past where we are now to Bloshimont to get one of the boards, one of the braking boards, and I'll have you know, you don't realise how far it is between the bus stop and Bloshimont, and even before that, until you run it. It was painful and it was a long way, and it's funny because when you're driving it's seconds, but it's really long. So there you go, that's a bit of information you probably didn't need to know about me, but you know nonetheless. We do go to Belgium every year, so next year, if you see me there, come say hello to the most decorated commentator. That's a little joke with the VRL guys. The VRL guys are racing this weekend, I believe. 2:30 PM, check out their YouTube channel. Hotline Mode VRL PS4. And they don't pay me enough for that, but we're still waiting. We've now reached the solid half race distance. I'd imagine the safety car would be in this lap. All the drivers have formed up. And all the drivers on the medium tyre, bar Steve, who pitted 6 laps, sorry, maybe even 5 laps into the race. Obviously was fearing tyre wear, and it might now come back to haunt him, because at this rate, if the safety car would to come in this lap, the mediums would easily make it to the end, and if it stays out for much longer, which I highly doubt it will, but if it's out for another couple of laps, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few drivers gamble on the soft tyre. Oh, there's a car off in the back. Wait, I think that was a Renault. There's contact under the safety car, and that is Peter and Lucas have both gone off under the safety car. So that is crazy. The safety car is staying out for another lap, so that will sort of, you know, grant them a free pit stop. But crazy scenes. Not quite sure what happened there. I'm sure someone will have something to say about that. But damage to the front wing of Peter. Not sure about the state of Lucas's car. It looks, yeah, I don't see any damage. I think that should be fine. But yeah, that was interesting. Here's Alex closing up, not in the session. So there's Mike into the pits. And what tyre is he going to go for? Medium tyres, so just fresh mediums, and he's going to serve a stop and go. Smart play by Mike there to take some fresh tyres, serve the stop and go. Under the safety car, that's Peter, gambling on a set of softs. So either he's listening to the stream, or he's got no mediums left, or both. You don't want to be on the hards at this point, but Peter will have to stretch him out a good 9 laps, which is doable. We saw the drivers in the first stint take them 8 laps on higher fuel, so anything is possible. We could get a little last to first drive here for Peter, but he's got to be very careful on the tyres. I'd imagine, I said this last lap before the incident, but I would imagine that the safety car will be coming in this lap if all the drivers keep it clean. It's been it's been an action-packed race today. I believe there's Mike and Alex swapping positions. As Felix has got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Steve. Okay. I think I know what's going on there. I'll just send Felix a message so he doesn't have to worry. I'm pretty sure we can remove that. If I can find his PSN. The game does give some aid penalties, if I'm honest. And I believe the safety car is in this lap, or is it not, or what? Safety car, question mark? I've had no warning to say the safety car will be in this lap. It's not going to be in this lap. So another lap with the safety car. Wait, the safety car's in. Okay, it's green flag, and Steve has had a big moment there. However, Felix has got to let him through. You're not allowed to overtake before the start-finish line. New rule for 2019 real-life F1. The drivers have to abide by it. Now, this is where the harder tyres for Steve are going to go against him. We might have a three-way battle for the lead. It was very late announced that the safety car was coming in. I got no announcement, so all very on the cusp. I'm assuming the driver's got an announcement. But here comes Felix on the softer tyres. He had a stroke of luck with the safety car. What can he do now? Around the outside, he's going to be later on the brakes. He's been given the room. Can he hold it? He can't. Steve with an excellent job around the outside of Lecom. But how long can he hold on those harder tyres? We've got Marcos still in the fight. And further back, here's Rico battling with Ferrin. Side by side, is there a little bit of contact? There is contact. Rico keeps it out of the wall. As we carry on back onto this battle for the lead. Felix sticking with Steve quite nicely. Dare I say, Felix will celebrate this as maybe one of his best wins in GPRL. He's got quite a few wins to his name. I believe he has maybe 6 or 7 wins, so quite a few does Felix. I'm pretty sure this will be up there from what was P11 on the grid. But here comes Marcos. Marcos looking strong. He got a great exit out of Stavolo 2. Could he be about to ruin that 11th to 1st dream? He will round the outside of Blochemont. And the drivers are still wheel to wheel. But Marcos edges ahead of the Alfa Romeo. But Felix still there on the outside. He's somehow pulled that back in the braking zone. Gets back up into P2, and some incredible defensive work there from the lead Alfa Romeo. Marine now pressuring Marcos, trying to save his teammate ever so slightly. You can see Felix backing up actually there through turn 1, which does ruin Marcos's momentum. See Marine tucking out the slipstream there to get him ever so slightly further back up Eau Rouge. Then he's close to Marcos, slightly wide. That may ruin his run. How much ERS do these drivers have and want to play with? You'd imagine they have quite a lot following the safety car period. Marcos defensive. Marine though, he's still going to go to the inside. Doesn't have the balls on the brakes. The driver's keeping it very much single file at the moment. Looks like Ferrin further back is quite close to Rico. Rico has made that move work now. Peter up 3 positions, or 2 positions I should say, sorry, from the safety car period. These guys are all very close. Salim now out of the session. Disappointing day for him. We got 2 drivers side by side. There's Ferrin going side by side with Rico through Pouon. He's going to get pushed out here, and here comes Peter picking up that position from Hans. He's now going to look to pick up the final points paying position of P10. He's got so much more confidence on those soft tyres. Peter driving a good race it was before it all unravelled. He's still in the race and still in the fight. 4 points. Here's Mitch, who's very close to Yana. Yana, who struggled all day, picks up another penalty on the exit. Mitch just showing his nose. What that does is actually puts Yana offline through the bus stop chicane. Felix fast lap of the Grand Prix, as I believe DRS will be enabled this lap. Or maybe next lap. I'm awaiting that one. But we see the drivers accelerate out of turn 1. Mitch looking a threat. as he goes. Here goes Felix. DRS is enabled. I didn't get a message for that, so could do with sorting that out. Order stays as it is though. Further back though, as Peter moving ahead of Lucas. Ferrin out of the session now. He must have made a mistake and stopped because he was battling with Lucas, I believe, just earlier. So 12 runners left in this race now. And Hans, so 13 runners, I do beg my pardon. Mitch still close to Jana, and I believe if it finishes with this gap, he will overtake Jana due to penalties. Jana, who was so confident coming into this race. Can't do much with it. That's a 3-second time penalty for Marcos. As he tries to push on for the lead. That may spoil his chances, however, though. And it does look as if Marcos has a very strong package in a straight line. Because he's closing up to Felix. Nowhere near close enough for even an optimistic lunge. But close. And we could have a 3-wide moment. As Felix sets fast lap of the Grand Prix, then Ryan, then Luke. So we're all converging on the top fighters there. Felix going wide. I highly doubt that was nearly contact with the wall there for Marcos. I highly doubt that that was intentional from Felix, and has ruined his run and his momentum. Closed Marcos right up to the back of him, and you'd imagine Marcos maybe going for a move. He's not close enough. So the DRS for Felix and slipstream from Steve, keeping Felix in P2 at the moment. But you can see Felix starting to struggle understeer through the exit of Les Combes. Marcos had a little look, couldn't do anything with it though. Here is Zeph, just ahead of his teammate, and Rico, who has managed to get past him. I would imagine that Peter would be able to get through these pretty soon, maybe. We'll have to see. Marcos is now very close to Felix, or he was on my timing sheet, dropping back ever so slightly now. And I do have to say, Steve has done an incredible job to keep it in the lead on 3-lap older, harder tyres. But it's just, if he can hold on for a couple more laps, Felix's tyres might start to hit the cliff. So if he can hold on and keep going, it may be alright. Marine is quite close to Marcos. Not close enough for a lunge. Looks like both Felix and Marcos went quite wide into the first part of that bus stop chicane. Notice Marine very squirmy on the power. Another fast lap of the race from Luke. So currently he's got that extra point, sorry, for the fast lap coming his way. We've got a yellow flag. Peter off. Turned around and out of the session. So another retirement to add. Promotes Mike to P11 and very close to points. They will be his first points as a full-time driver. Anyway, here comes Felix. Here's DRS, but not quite close enough for a move further back. Here's Marine and Marcos right down the inside of Les Combes. Marcos, though, doing a good job to hold it around the outside. These two have been battling all race, and Marcos just about keeps it ahead of one of his championship rivals. A lock-up, though, from Marcos. There's Marine going wide. That hands an opportunity to Luke. There was ever so slight contact there. Don't think there'll be any disputes from that, though. As now Felix starting to close in on Steve. The fresher tyres may be finally coming into play for Steve. However, at what point will they hit the cliff? The front right of Felix does not look the healthiest. Beautiful off-board shot of the cars. Guys in the chat, how do you think this race is going to end with just 5 laps to go? Is Felix about to claim another win this season? He's very close to Steve. He's not going to send one down the inside. Steve forced to defend the position there. And Marcos has a front row seat of the action going on. Oversteer there for Marcos, getting quite trigger happy on the throttle. And now Felix is really close to Steve, and if he can just ensure he gets a good exit, he'll be the odds-on favourite to take the lead of the race. Back on board now with Felix. We had a brief cut to Lucas there. It's been a good run for Felix. He's going to have the DRS activating down the Kemmel Straight. I can't imagine it'll be too hard for Felix. With DRS activated, moves to the inside and moves into the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. A valiant effort from Steve. However, he couldn't make it work. Felix from P11 up to P1, and he's now got 5 laps to hold on. I can imagine Steve will be pressuring him though. However, and further back, Marcos, I say further back, he's very close to Steve. Actually got a very good run through No Name. However, looks like these guys very, very closely matched, high intensity for all the drivers. And as we mentioned earlier, in the first stint, Steve looked very strong in a straight line when he was battling for the lead with Luke. So that could come into his hands. However, does he want to make a move into the bus stop and then gift Felix the DRS and maybe even the position again for the Kemmel Straight? A lot of dynamics here to think about at Spa. A very low downforce, low drag circuit through Blochemont. Now the racing point of Steve. Is he close enough? Does he want to have a go? He doesn't want to have a go. Marcos again making a mistake through the bus stop chicane. That's going to close Marine up to him. So Marine now, he dropped back after about a lap. He may be able to have another go. On to lap number 19. We're going to take this lap just before anything kicks off to dedicate this race to Antoine Hubert, who tragically lost his life racing here at Spa just over a month ago. And a tragic crash up over Route 19 was the race number of Antoine. So racing, hashtag racing for Antoine. Further back, Marcos still defending, Felix still defending. And Mitch now finally, I think, has moved past Jarno. Yes, he has. Up into P6. Jarno has really struggled all race. So I'm not really I don't have an explanation for his lack of pace. But, yep. Anyway. Drivers are all still so closely matched as we go through the middle sector. The top 4 separated by no more than 1.5 seconds. We're all in such a train, and anyone could win this race. Anyone from P1 to P5, I say, could win this race. If something kicks off, Luke could be first. Now he goes very wide, very close to that tyre barrier on the exit. Here we go, Steve. I can't imagine would be too willing to make a move here. Marine ever so slightly wide. That was Marcos looking strong. Bear in mind he does have that 3-second time penalty. Yellow flag. That's for Zeph, who's off. There's been contact there. He's got front wing damage. There must have been contact with Lucas. We'll have to look at that one after the race. But here comes Marcos. He's very close. Bit of a sideways moment up Radion. But here's Marcos. He's very close to the racing point of Steve, but I don't think he's close enough. Steve actually pulling away in a straight line. So as we mentioned earlier, Steve's front wing coming in play. Here comes Luke around the outside of Marina. Great move there from Luke to move up. And here comes Jarno coming back at Mitch. Jarno goes off the track. I imagine that might be an illegal overtake. There was contact there. There was a yellow flag a moment ago, so I'm not sure why that was. But yeah, that would have been an illegal overtake anyway for Jarno. So good job he didn't take that position. Here's Marine and Luke battling. Or Luke's got damage to the front wing after what was such a great race. He's got some form of damage. I'm not sure where that's come from, but that's such a shame for the Mercedes driver who's driving an incredible race. And with just 2 and a bit laps to go, he's ruined his chances of a top 5. And will Mitch again score P5? He scored a lot of P5s, I believe. He had 3 on the trot at one point. and I'm sure he'll be pretty chuffed with himself if he does. Steve, though, however, in the slipstream, not close enough for a move. He does have a look, though, into the bus stop. Very sideways, though. That's going to ruin, well, any chance I don't think he would have taken, even if he had a chance. But to move up into P1 into turn 1, a lot of the drivers prefer to stick behind and get the DRS down the Camel Straight. You can see drivers, though, starting to struggle with the rear tyres. We've seen oversteer for quite a few of the drivers. There's a yellow flag, however, up sector 1, and I don't think that's because of any active drivers. However, I believe that will neutralise the race. There's actually a green flag, so Steve can race Felix around the outside. Goes Steve. Felix is going to give him a good squeeze, but Steve back into the lead of the race is further behind. Here comes Luke, Mitch battling past, and there goes Jarno through. A shame for Luke staying out. He should score points, but yeah, still a shame. We'll have to see what happened after the race, and that's going to be so painful for the Mercedes driver who deserved P5 today. Maybe even better. But here comes Felix. Felix's tyres might have gone off a cliff. Here is Steve just passing the back marker of the Williams. But yeah, Steve, may he have pushed his tyres too hard, because Marcos looking very strong on the back with the yellow flag in sector 2. Someone off? I don't believe so. Marcos looking strong to actually take the position from Felix now. Can he get a good run? You can see him actually staying out of the slipstream. I'm not sure if that's to cool his tyres or anything, or just because he doesn't want to be too close. We've seen Marcos is very good onto the brakes into the bus stop chicane. But on the exit, Moraine's strong. Steve sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix on the final lap of the race now. So, it's all or nothing for the drivers now. They've probably got about 2 or 3 proper overtaking chances available to them before the end of the race. Is Felix close enough with DRS? I'm sure he'll have all his engine and a bit more to play with. But what I did notice, Marcos was a little bit sideways. Upper Rouge, here's the battle for the final place on the podium. Moraine with the DRS. Both drivers have DRS though, which is keeping Marcos ahead of the Season 4 champion. And Felix not able to make an impression on Steve. Here's Jarno, who's very close to Mitch. Mitch holding the position and doing a great job so far up in P5, holding back the, as I mentioned earlier, proven race winner. And I'm sure Felix's tyres have gone off the cliff because he's dropped a second to Steve. And Marcos is looking strong now. However, Marcos does have that time penalty, which may drop him off the podium and down to P4. There's battling going on between the two McLarens as there's damage for Rico. So a lot of front wing damage happening in these final couple of corners. It looks like Steve should be good to take the win of the race. He looked in doubt after the safety car period, but I'm pretty sure he'll be all fine and dandy to take the win. Here's Marcos though, closing in the slipstream of Felix. He's not going to go for a move. I'm sure he would have desperately wanted to, but not close enough. But as we go through the final corner for the second week in a row, it's Steve in the Racing Point who wins the race. But Moraine takes the win following penalties. And that came out of nowhere. I did not expect that to happen. Steve losing the win following corner cutting penalties. A shame for Steve, but I'm sure Moraine will be really happy with that. Marcos does finish P3 after Felix picked up quite a few penalties. Mitch, a great race to P5. Jarno, P6. Luke, a shame with the damage at the end, but nevertheless, great points for his first race in GPRL. Rico comes home P8. P9 for Lucas, a good points haul for the McLarens. And Mike for his first race as a Red Bull driver finishes P10. Here comes Zeph into the final corner through the bus stop chicane and back on the power. He'll be the final driver to finish. What a race, what an awesome race. 19 drivers record And one thing I do have to say, I believe Felix might have actually won the race. Noticing that Felix says he has damage at the end, so that could be why. Let's go into the race predictions. Race predictions, wow. We're not predicting the race. But, yeah, this result is definitely provisional, because if Felix's time penalty is removed, 5-second time penalty, he would step up into P3, I believe. I'm not sure. However, Moraine, I'm sure he'll be so happy with that. P1, I'm sure he'll be satisfied. Steve, P2 from the lead of the race, but nevertheless more good points, and he is a solid title contender now. Marcos P3, gained a place. I'm sure he'll be quite happy with that. Felix from P10 on the grid. P4 from a great race. Mitch, again, P5, driving a good race for himself. Jarno struggled with the pace. Luke driving great race, shame for his damage. P8 and P9 for the McLarens. Rico ahead of Lucas, a good point haul for them. And Mike gets the final point scoring position. I hope you've enjoyed the stream today. Do feel free to join us this time next week. And we'll see you then. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you next time, guys. So goodbye.